All right, welcome to another edition of the Pear Genius Podcast. We are the pair of geniuses,
Self-proclaimed.
apparently, that you came to see, and we have one of our favoriteest people in the universe, Helen Rose, with us today. She was on Firmamental episode something, one of my favorite episodes of Firmamental ever, because, like I said, every time we get a chance to talk to Helen, it's a blessing. And you know what? I'm going to give you shit, Helen, because we don't talk enough.
I know. And it's just time just flies by. And it's like, how are we already at mid-January?
Right? My New Year's resolution is to talk to you more this year.
Okay, good. I hope so.
Okay.
But that's what we're going to talk about is resolutions and
Right,
how
Barb.
they don't
Right.
work. So that better work.
Before we get into that, I do want to hype you up and say Helen wrote one of my favorite books, 53 Grove Road.
Aw.
Amazing book. And I'm not just saying that because
Thank you.
I really enjoyed every second of reading that. And it kind of broke my heart and made me love you more at the exact same time.
Yeah,
Just
I
reading
hear
that
a lot
thing.
of people say they want to reach out and hug that little girl. And I did some more, deep work, and I wanted to hug her too. And I don't know if you think that's hokey or not, but I was in a thing where I was just gone. I was way down here and Carrie Costu is wonderful. She said to me, where is she? And I said, oh, she's back here. And she said, well, can you bring her forward? And I'm like, no, she won't come. And it sounds silly, but I couldn't even get my little self to come here because she just didn't trust. And it really hit me. It was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even trust me. So then I went for some other work, and I was sitting in this room, and I wasn't hypnotized or anything, but it was like a drumming session. I don't know if you've ever done it. So powerful. Yeah. And so all of a sudden I was off on this place, and she was coming towards me, and I'm like, let the shame go, let it go, come on. And for the first time, and I was 60 years old when it happened, she came right here, and it was really special. Like everyone, when I told everyone kind of what had happened, everyone who knew my story was in tears, because that's a pretty powerful thing to be doing at 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you did it though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much amazingness wrapped around your inner child. And for the people who haven't had the chance to connect to their inner child, do it. To spend the time. You can so easily slip into a meditation and call your inner child forward and get to know them. And all of a sudden these memories come and the feelings come. And I just think it's so profound to be able to have that connection. So something that I've started doing is when I'm interacting with other people, whether new people or, older people that I've known, I just go straight for their inner child.
Yeah.
Because for me to interact on that level, I'm dropping a little bit of the jadedness of my adult self. And on that level, it's really hard to dislike the other person, because now you start to see that innocence and what they were meant to be in that time, and that connection is pure.
It's so true. And you know how I've learned that? We were talking earlier about grandchildren. So my oldest little, she is very similar to me. She's she's brilliant. I'm not saying I'm brilliant, but I might be. But she is very hard on her sleeve and just big emotions and so smart and trying to figure it all out. And she has such intense, immense love from her parents. Like my son and daughter-in-law are amazing parents, and they allow her to have those big emotions. So when you're talking about being somewhere and you're checking in, my little self would often go home very sad because I didn't have that. And so I'm almost reparenting myself through my granddaughter. And I was telling my son that, and he said, but doesn't it give you a sense of relief, maybe, I think the word he said, that she is so loved, she's getting the love. And I said, unbelievably so. And so many people, to your point, are broken and they don't know why. And it's really hard work. And I know one of my therapists said, Helen, you're always referring to her. And she goes, you are her. Bring her here. So if I'm driving somewhere, I'll hold on to her while I'm driving. maybe someone who passes me thinks I'm a nut job, but I don't really care. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like, if we could all get in touch with our inner self, and it doesn't have to be that you've lived the worst childhood, or, I hear it all the time. People are like, oh my gosh, my childhood is wonderful. It's almost like they're apologizing. I'm like, I think that's great. I'm not, I don't begrudge anyone that kind of experience. Yeah. And you can reparent yourself. You can let go of some of the experience. I don't even like to use the word let go. You just learn how to carry it better when you realize that you're the one that's, yeah.
I love that. Nobody has ever said that to me before, that you have this opportunity to reparent yourself.
Yep.
That's going up here.
Yeah. And if I have a client, I'll often say, okay, let's get in touch. It sounds so cliche, but you take her little hand, or his little self, take their hand and hold onto them. And it sounds bizarro, but it gives you such comfort, because now you're taking this little person who may or may not have received, and you're allowing them to feel that. Mm-hmm. It's super powerful.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about Cutsy's inner child lately. A little bit of mine too, but I like focusing on you better than me. But like, you were a very sensitive child, and you were not allowed to express yourself.
I was not allowed to be sensitive either. Like, that was a weakness in my family.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you think about back on my parents, I'm a generation ahead of you guys, but boys weren't allowed to cry, suck it up, that kind of stuff. And that's where we diminished. That's why I love if Layla's having a big moment, her mom will say to her, "Are you having big emotions?" It's validating what they're feeling. It's incredible.
Yep.
I mean, as an adult, you have to rein it in a bit. You can't have the temper tantrums that they have, because, well, you can, but then you might get locked up somewhere, Pinoca. But you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to have those big emotions. And I work with the feelings wheel. I think I've sent that to you before, but it's shocking how many people will look at this feelings wheel, and there's the low-hanging fruit of emotion are happy, glad, mad, sad. But there's the secondary emotions that are attached to the primary ones. And then there's the tertiary ones. It's like, why am I feeling so insecure? Well, it leads to sadness, right? And the opposite of the more the negative emotions, which aren't. But when someone will say to you, "Oh, come on, you have lots to be happy for." Oh, yeah, I know, but maybe I want to feel sorry for myself for a minute. It's okay, right? Just rein it in. Don't live in that spot.
Right.
The thing that always boggles my mind is how our kids see reality so different from us. And listening to Alora, let's say, tell stories about me or us in a certain situation to other people, when I was there, like, if she were to tell the story, it's completely different than the way I would tell it.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at her like shocked, like, are we living different realities? And then I realized, like, we are living these different
perspectives.
She has a totally different filter of life.
Yeah.
The way she internalizes and sees things. I'm like, wow, I don't know if it's because I'm an old jaded man and I'm a dad, or but it's just really, I try to respect it and not laugh, because to me it's like, your reality is almost funny to me because it's just completely opposite of what I see. But I do a good job of not mocking.
Yeah, and not to get impatient. I have a story. When Alex was younger, we were cycling up to Minnewanka, and I got a flat tire on my bike, and I was pissed off, and I picked my bike up and I just tossed it into the stomping home. Well, he thought I was mad at him. So this poor kid, 8 or 9 maybe, walking home thinking I was mad at him. And when he brought it up, I was mortified. Had nothing to do, but you forget that you have now this person you're responsible for. Get a grip, Helen. And you can't go back and change it. But it didn't shape him or anything. Oh, maybe it did. I don't know. But what I like is he could say that, and I could say, "Oh my gosh, I had nothing to do with you." But you're right. The perspectives are different. And you'll hear that in a story when you have brothers and sisters, and one brother or sister is talking about how ridiculous the household was, and another one's like, what? We had the best childhood. It's like, what house did you grow up in? Right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know, with two daughters, they're both very different, I'm sure. It's like my littlest little Ellie is just this calm. She's like her mom. She's just so calm and laid back and just so sweet. And it's like, man, I'd like to have that, right? And she'll be the one I think I predict for future. But having said that, she also knows how to poke her sister too, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's siblings. But I think she is very calming for Layla. But Layla will turn around. She calls her her dumpling. Like they're just like this, but then they fight constantly. But that's just the way it is.
I mean, that's par for the course, right? You love with all your being, and then you fight with all your
Yeah,
being.
that's right. Yeah.
Siblings.
The thing that drives me the craziest is when I see the parts of myself that I don't like coming out of the children.
Oh yeah.
That triggers me. I'm like, oh God, don't.
I know. And you spend half your life feeling like you really failed them. No.
Don't
I've
be like me
always
that
seen-
way. Be funny. Be the funniest version of me. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I'll see that. Sometimes I'll hang up from the phone with Alex and I'll think, holy crap, I just had a conversation with myself. Right? And we can be our biggest critic, of course. Never mind all the good things we did as a parent. Let's just pick out the few ones where we were dickheads to them,
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny that
Can I
the kids.
swear?
You
Sorry.
can swear all
You
you
can swear,
want.
yeah.
You're
Okay,
the
good.
biggest sailor of all.
Okay, good.
But our kids sort of complain about how much of a mama bear you are. Like
You
they're
mean,
actually scared that you will come to the school and kill their teachers. Or, like, Dad, you gotta go. You can't let mom go to
Yeah.
the school. Like mom
Yeah,
will
I
kill
love
you.
that. I love that. And I was the same way. That can be a blessing and a curse as a mama bear, right? Because you're
Yes.
like, they got to figure it out, and maybe they aren't right. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Before I go barreling down there, I need to make sure. But that's why I have this person who is
Yeah.
my very even
Anchor.
keel, and he'll weigh it out, and he'll be
Yeah.
like, okay, let's not run in there and kill.
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah.
anything I've learned from the oldest, Alora, is that all her stories are pretty much lies, and she's the star and the victim all in
Oh, of
one.
course.
And somewhere in the middle is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Of
I always
course.
have to take everything she says with a grain of salt, but I still
Yeah.
love her. And
Yeah. The drama of it all. Oh my God. Yeah. I think especially with girls, I don't know, but I love it when my son will say, oh, mommy, girls are easier to raise than boys. And I'm like,
oh man.
but then there's some of my friends who've had girls and the girls were wonderful. Like it's not a for sure thing.
So
No.
I'm gonna bring this up. We haven't talked about this yet, but I
Oh.
figure Helen will get a kick out of this. So we had a seriously challenging New Year's
Oh,
with our teenager. Our teenage daughter, 16, goes to a party and has alcohol. And I have to go pick them up, these kids. And I'm like, what the hell? Alora's asking me what I did for New Year's. She asked me 4 times in 2 minutes. So I'm like, oh my God, this kid's 2 sheets to the wind. I want to rip her a new one.
yeah.
Good thing her boyfriend wasn't drinking and he was like making sure she was okay.
Yeah.
But she didn't even have a hangover in the morning. We're so pissed. Like we need her to learn her lesson.
Yeah.
I was furious, and Alex was purposely keeping her away because he's like, you can't talk to her now. She's like, not okay. Just leave her be. I'm like, fine,
Yeah.
but she better be frickin' hungover in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
and she wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I never, because I grew up with an alcoholic father, I was very strict about the drinking rule, and almost to the point where it was ridiculous. Like I would threaten him with pee tests every Thursday. There's going to be a pee test. And he'd be like, fine, mom, bring it on, for drugs and whatever else. Right. And I live under the cloud of denial that he was perfect. And I don't know. And I never want to know. I'm just glad that he came through it. He was never one of those crazy kids but I think it's almost like a rite of passage. And was she embarrassed the next day or nothing?
You know what? She actually played it way too cool. Like she was like, I didn't do anything wrong, really. I only had one. I was responsible about it. And I'm like, but I mean, she did come into the room crying, and I just want you to forgive me. I don't want the trust to be gone. And because we have a very open relationship, when sex was on the table, she came and talked to me about it.
Yeah.
She didn't talk to me.
Oh, Catty, maybe we should tell Alex go for a pee break.
Right? Never ask the question you don't want the answer to, right, Helen?
That's right. Yeah, but good for you, because I had a stepdaughter that when she started seeing, who is now, she's married to him, but I immediately put her on the pill. And I think her mom was not impressed. And I'm like, you're not going to stop that. So, I mean, if she were 14, I'd be having a heart attack. She was 17.
Right.
Okay. I don't like it, but you have to be realistic about that kind of stuff. If you're so strict and you're making it forbidden fruit, then you're in for a lot of trouble, I think.
Right?
It tastes way sweeter.
And we've always had this open, like we've talked to her about all sorts of things. When we went to Mexico last January, she had a drink with us by the pool. Like, okay, if you're going to have alcohol, have it with us.
Yeah.
We're all together, because this is not an evil. It's just something that you have to be respectful about.
That's right.
Especially because he has the alcoholic dad. Alcoholism is like, top of mind. She's experienced drunk grandpa. Like she understands. So yeah, it was a tricky New Year's. It was a weird way to bring in the new year, because I was so frustrated and angry. And I'm like, wow, what a way to start 2025.
But you know what? I think, we're talking about that feelings, Will. Frustrated and angry may be also fear. Because, right?
My biggest thing is that she wasn't with us. Like, I would, if she was around and the friends maybe had some drinks, I wouldn't like it, but at least I would have a little bit more control.
Yeah. It's a scary thing. And I think it's really frightening. I mean, it's different than when we were growing up. I think. I don't know.
Roofies, there's fentanyl. There's like fentanyl is crazy. I told the girls, like, you can't smoke marijuana, you can't do drugs, you can't do pills. I said, all this crap could have fentanyl. You could be dead instantly. Yeah. Sorry, but that's the harsh reality.
Yeah, and it is. And I used to say that to Alex. If you want to smoke a joint, we'll sit on the front deck and I'll smoke one with you. Because I didn't make it forbidden fruit. I would have been more upset with him smoking a cigarette. But now, so as the grandparent we were talking about earlier, you worry about that too.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. Because it's so scary out there now. And I don't know if our parents were afraid. My dad would have been drunk with me.
Right. My dad was too busy drinking to be afraid of what I was doing.
Exactly. Right. And so, but I had my go arounds with alcohol when I was young, for sure. And then I just thought, I don't even like it. I'm not in control. No, thanks. But so Laura is going to have to come to that realization, right?
Right. So 2025, that's how it started for us. Not how I was expecting. I was like diligently wanting to bring in the new year in a very calm way. And it was totally the opposite. So, I mean, how did you do 2025? How did it start energetically for you?
So I had, I go back to the cottage every year to Algonquin Park, and which is close to where I grew up. And I have got these beautiful friends. And they came out on the 26th, and we, honest to God, at 10 o'clock, I was like, see you guys, I'm going to bed. I can't stay up past 10 o'clock. So I went to bed. I don't know how they celebrated in my house. I had the Prosecco out and everything. I don't even think it was ever opened. So we went and of course I had to work a little bit every day, which was fine. But we had a lovely dinner, like we did the turkey dinner and stuff. So that was lovely. But then we went to the Wolf Dog Sanctuary outside of Cochrane.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow. What an experience. So I've been bringing in the new year so far, resetting. Because, when you have company for a while, like you have to fix the spices and make sure all the knives are where they're supposed to be. And that's the big first world problem I've got. But it was fine. It was terrible to do. But like today I was going to go skiing, and I woke up this morning and I thought, you know what? I have been going balls out for the last 3 weeks. I am not going anywhere today. So it was a really nice day. So I'm trying, when we're talking about resolutions, I, I just don't have them because they're going to fail. Like maybe not like, but to make a big resolution, make sure you're ready to do it. Right.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And make it I think with anything, you just got to make it a daily habit,
Yeah.
right?
Intentional. Yeah.
Intentional.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was talking about this with somebody too. It's you just because you're replacing something with something doesn't mean that you won't fill another void with something stupid as
That's
well.
right.
So you got to be really intentional with the
Yeah.
things that you want to change, and just these fly by night resolutions almost for no reason, just for the sake of a resolution.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't make any sense.
No. And, I love my life. I mean, I would like to work a little bit less, but if I want to stay here, that can't happen. So, I'd love to have a resolution and I'm only going to work 5 days a week. Well, that's not realistic. As a business owner, you don't get days off, right?
Yeah.
And so even when you're off, you're still on because you're answering phones or emails are coming in and that kind of stuff. But I think this year I just want to kayak more. I need to visit you guys more. It's terrible. Last year was so busy. I didn't see anybody. It was actually not fun. I wasn't having a fun. I'm glad 2024 is over with. On to bigger and better. But
Right?
can you
Like,
believe it's 2025?
that's so crazy. My grandmother was born in 1925. I'm like, she would have been 100 this year. Where did the time go?
Do you remember 19 when the 2000?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
turned my computer on at 12:01 because I wanted to see if it was going to blow up.
That's
Right?
hilarious.
That just feels like yesterday.
That was actually our first Christmas or New Year's as a married couple.
Oh,
So we were
wow.
kind of sitting there waiting for the end of the world. We had like flashlights and
Yeah,
they were like, "Okay, is this oh,
Yeah.
Bill Gates didn't ruin everything? Okay, good. We're good."
yeah, yeah, yeah. But now we're 25 years into it, and it's crazy how fast it's going. I
Wild.
think anyway.
Wild.
Yeah.
I hate New Year's. I hate resolutions. I hate having to stay up till midnight. I'm like you. I'm in bed.
Yeah,
Alora was out partying. I went to bed at 10, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah,
So I think that for me, like, I don't want to be so reactive. I know these things are still going to happen,
Yeah.
and it's almost ironically perfect that that's how 2025 started for me because it was an opportunity and a lesson. How am I going to react to this? What is that triggering in me? I don't want to just spew hatred all over her for this thing that she did because that's not what it's about. So I have to be more mindful about how I'm reacting to things because shit's going to happen.
Totally. And I think that's true of work too. I mean, you're still in the thick of kids, right? But with work, I react when there's something that goes wrong. It just drives me insane. And that's that perfectionism. I don't want to let someone down. And then I get so freaking angry. And it's like, okay, well, this is stupid. I'm going to have a stroke over a, missing toilet that wasn't clean. It's like,
Right,
give me
yeah.
a break. So yeah, I like that, to be more intentional on your reactions, how you react to things. Not easy because
No.
you get triggered, you're going to that little person who's still 3 and melting down, right?
Yeah, and just when you
Yeah.
think that you've learned the lesson in how to react, you get
Yeah.
another lesson.
Yeah, right?
Come
And then
on.
the other thing too is like, oh, I'm going to work out every day. Oh, no, I'm not. I don't want to. I hate it. I go 3 times a week. I have the best coach ever. She's awesome. And I'm trying to do it because I am going to be 63 this year. And
What?
it's like, I know, right? I'm like,
I don't believe
what? Yeah, no, thank you. But it's true. I'm sitting there. I'm like, holy crap. But I'll tell you, the last week I met this gal and we were talking and stuff, and she was very frail. And I thought, oh, she's 73, 74. And she said, oh, my birthday's on Sunday. I said, oh, how old are you going to be? 67. I'm like, it was all I could do to not go, what? Holy shit, I look amazing. It's like, don't compare. But when you're starting to get into those years, for me, when I think, I don't even want to say it, but if you put it into perspective, I'll be 73 in 10 very short years. And I have, with hopefully 30 years left in me. but that's not a guarantee. And so, I lost my sister friend last year,
Yeah.
and she was only 71. And that's, it can happen just like that now. You're getting to that age now, or I'm getting to that age now. So everything really does have to be with purpose and intention. Not easy to do, because you think, oh, well, what's going to happen in my life now? Right. Well, the minute you say that, something's going to, could be a great thing or it could be a horrible thing. Knock on wood, it's not. Right.
Right.
I really felt that this year. Like I turned 46, and this was one of the first years where I was actually worried about time and decisions. And it's like, if I make a wrong decision, do I have enough time to correct that decision? And still leaning on my, let's say, 20 years of being an adult, 25 years of being an adult, and the wisdom I've acquired. Can I make the right decisions now, or the perfect decisions? Probably not, but you want to try and limit the catastrophic mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that point, I mean, I was thought I was happily married at 49, and it all went south fast. And so I had to reinvent again. And, to do it at 50, now in retrospect, I'm like, thank God it had to happen when I was 50 and not when I'm going to be 63.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to be like Debbie Downer or anything, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's called serendipity. You think you're going this way, and the universe is like, no, I think you're going to go this way. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to trust that that's good.
Even the story about your ex-husband, I don't want to like do any spoilers here with the book and things, but with your, like, for me, it's all about health.
Yeah.
The whole stupid COVID thing, to me, that was the ultimate wake-up call. It should have been the ultimate wake-up call for everybody.
Yep. And it wasn't.
Right. The most important thing is that we are in top physical shape.
That's
and then
right.
we'll get to the spiritual and the mental. But if this can't handle what's going on with whatever crap they're going to throw at us, we're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and no spoiler alert, but I think what happened to him, if I had to guess, because I don't really know, is he had ALS, and he knew he did. And I did not know he did. And I think he panicked, and I think he made some, choices that weren't the greatest thing, but I don't regret that it happened. I'm sad for him. I mean, we're talking 12 years later, so I'm not angry anymore, right? But it was a really sad story for him, and I don't know, I don't have to be angry. Lots of other people get angry for me, right? But it was a really, really sad time for all of us. And we make decisions, sometimes you panic and you do whatever, and I don't know, I'll never know. It's too late for me to even have that conversation, and I don't honestly think if I could have that conversation with them, that's a whole other podcast we should do, as that when they're gone.
Right.
That's another book, Helen. That's another book.
It is when they're coming back and asking for forgiveness. The stories I have are crazy.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, you can't get absolution from me. That's on you, bud. Right. And if anyone was standing outside my house, me going, you just never mind, get away from me, I would look nuts. But
so you were able to communicate with him after the fact? Yeah.
You know what? I knew I think that if you're able to, you go on to a different plane before you die, a limbo. And I was sound asleep one night. I had heard through the grapevine that he was sick. We never spoke to each other after the divorce, ever. And it was so vivid. He was this big barrel-chested, like his arms were as big as my thighs. He was a big barrel-chested boy. And he had his arms wrapped around me, and he said to me, clear as anything, are we okay? And I woke up and I thought, oh my God, I thought he was, so I phoned my friend in Toronto. I said, I think Mario died. And he had died about, I think it was 5 or 6 days later. And so, but there were other incidences where, can I tell this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
Go for it.
I was a friend of mine was learning what is it when you call when you work with your feet? It's not Reiki.
Reflexology.
Reflexology. She was getting her certification, so she needed some guinea pigs. I didn't really know her. I knew who she was, but so I said, "Oh, I'll do it." So I'm sitting there, and she's like, "Oh," and she's not, as far as I know, not psychic or anything, but she's like, "Oh, there's a man here who wants to know if you forgive him." And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, huh? And I'm like, well, it's probably my ex-husband. Of course, I start crying. She said, he wants me to tell you, he's asking me for you to tell me about the necklace. So long story, but his second wife was killed in a car accident.
Wow.
And so he had her rings from her first marriage and their marriage. So these diamonds were just sitting in a box in our house. So I thought, for his 50th birthday, I thought his favorite mountain was Fortress Mountain. So I took everything to my friend Lauren, who's a jeweler, and he designed this pendant that was in the shape of Fortress Mountain, and the diamonds were the sun and the stars. And that was Mario's 50th birthday present.
Wow.
And so I told Carolyn this story, and she said, well, he just told me that was the nicest thing anyone had ever done for him. And I'm sitting there going, huh? You want to believe it, but you're like, what? Like, how would she know that? That is so random, right? Yeah. So, so it's those kinds of stories. So, I really, when you're talking about forgiveness, it isn't for them, it's for you. And it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing when someone betrays you like that. And some people are like, he was an asshole. Well, actually, no, he wasn't. He was broken. When we're talking early, Kathy, about your inner child, I knew him very well. He was broken. And yes, when I was angry at him, of course, he was the big jerk and everything else, but he was broken. I can't hate someone for being broken. And so that's that part where I'm trying to come to terms with what he did, because he actually did me a big favor in a lot of ways, right? But you don't see those things right away. And I just refuse to carry, now don't get me wrong, I refuse to carry hate like that, but every once in a while it fires right out of me. But that's grieving. It's not the friggin' Waltons. Well, you probably don't even know who the Waltons are. Who's your, geez, I'm showing my age. I don't know, Little House on the Prairie, one of those stupid shows where, in real life, Grandpa was probably diddling, little guy anyway, right? But it's not that fairy tale. It's not that easy. So, yeah, anyway. Boy, did we go off topic there.
No, but it's funny you're talking about this, and it's such a cool confirmation to know somebody. Well, I mean, it happened to you that this person was connected and proving to you they should not know any of that. That this is a spiritual realm.
Yes.
And there's these different dimensions or like third dimension, fourth dimension, different planes. Yeah. And there's ways that they can communicate with us. And
absolutely.
I think that in previous generations, people were probably more connected. We're way more distracted and way less able to feel these things.
Yeah, and I think if you're open to it, you'll receive it.
Right.
But like you say, you have that distraction. Right. And it's not about going wooey and weird and whatever, but that kind of stuff just threw me off. It threw me off my game, because I thought, wow, I knew how much he loved me. But also he loved me until he didn't love me. Right. And so that happens. That's human. Right.
That's a human thing. Yeah. Not his soul.
That's right. And I know he was, well, I'm assuming that he probably sat for the last number of years not being able to move. So all he had to do was time to think, and about a whole bunch of things. It certainly wasn't just about me, but it was interesting. But
we've been watching a lot of Tyler Henry, so like your story and just listening to that, it's like, oh wow, it's just another one of those confirmations that there's just so much more that we can't even.
we're so arrogant. We think the buck stops at us, right?
Right.
It doesn't. I don't think it does.
I
No,
don't
of
think
course
so
not.
either.
No,
There's so
It's-
much more to this than meets the eye.
I think so.
Science just tries to put everything in a nice little box, and it's just not a nice little box.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, do I think we're living in parallel universes? I don't know. Maybe we are. How do I know? I don't
Right.
know, you know? Yeah. But I think if you're open to it, and maybe there, and maybe it goes beyond that other person isn't there. Maybe it's your inner being healing as well. Maybe I wanted to hear that he wanted to know that he didn't hurt me so badly, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
you probably needed it.
God, if you could see me then versus now, I was a completely different person. I was journaling. I journaled and I kept writing, trust your path, because I had no other way to deal with what was going on in my life. And it really fed into everything that went on in my childhood too, abandonment issues, all of that kind of stuff. So, but I actually burned the journal like 5 years after because I thought, geez, if I die tomorrow and someone reads that, they're going to think I was a nut job, right? Just the anger and the fear and yeah, all of that. And just trying to figure it all out. Yeah.
I know Helen's hoodie that you gotta make for her. Ain't no fury like a woman scorned.
Yeah. That is very true, especially a Greek woman.
Well,
Yes.
and in Aries, right? I mean, you're all
Oh.
fire.
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
He's
Yeah.
lucky you didn't kill him.
Well, I know. And then I was dating another guy for a number of years after. And I said, you ever pull something like that? I was pretty vivid about what would happen. And he's like, well, the other guy got away with it. And I'm like, well, that's because I couldn't catch the little bastard, you know? But, and that's the other thing too, is not bringing, when you're talking about earlier about the kids and your experiences as a child, is not bringing that into any relationship that you have with your children, friends, whatever, your spouse, right? And it's really hard not to walk into another relationship and be fully trusting. It's really hard now, right? Because there's that little could happen again, you know?
For sure. It doesn't take much to, I don't know, sour you, right?
Yeah, bitter.
Bitter. And then, yeah. And then it you put that different lens on. You look at the world with a different lens, and that's sad.
It is sad. It is sad. And you want to be the one that, and that's like dating in your 60s. Oh, that's a whole other freaking podcast because everyone's broken.
We already got
Everyone's
part 2 and 3 lined
broken.
up, Helen.
Yeah, exactly. But they're carrying their own luggage of, bitter. And it's like, it's just agonizing. It's horrible, horrible.
That makes me sad that even at 60, they're still dealing with broken. You
Yeah.
hope that by 60, so we're coming up on midlife. I'm coming into menopause.
Yeah.
Like what would you go back and say to that version of you? Like what's something that's going to be so helpful as I'm coming up to this?
You're assuming that Helen's in menopause. She might be fertile as hell still.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Thank God I'm menopausal.
I tried, Helen.
Is
Sorry.
that section of mine? Thank you. That's okay. I'm good. I think don't overthink it. Are you talking about menopause, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to embrace it. It is a different part of your life and it is lovely. I have a friend here who is a menopause coach, actually. She's lovely. I should introduce you guys. And, I didn't have any of the symptoms really other than emotionally. But then I've always been emotional. So I'm not sure if that had anything to do with the menopause. But I would say just pay very good attention to your body and to your mental health. And there are some things that are unavoidable, and you just have to laugh about it. Because the way I got through it, so I started letting my hair go gray when I didn't really dye my hair too much, but I think it was when I got divorced, I thought, who cares? So, every once in a while, like you can see where it's really going gray here and stuff. And I just think, I had so many friends that died young that didn't get to complain about gray hair or the midsection or not sleeping or whatever else symptoms there are. I think you have to embrace it and just understand it. You're going through a big process here. You know, we are of the animal kingdom, right? And losing your youth, it's really hard, because I used to be this tiny little thing. I could wear these little shorts. I could eat a cheesecake a day. I wouldn't gain a pound. Right now, it's like I just look at one, I gain 10 pounds. Right? Like, fuck, you know.
It goes to your boobs, though, right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
It does.
good.
Now I have big boobs, and that's great. If I could find someone to date, he'd like my boobs. But anyway,
What a perfect world we live in.
yeah, exactly. But it's the losing the elasticity in your skin. You know, I had a girlfriend one time said to me, "Oh my God, wait till you're 60. It's a game changer." And I was like, okay, well, it is a game changer, because you don't have the energy you used to. You feel a lot more of the emotion, I think, for me anyway. Some women just breeze through it. I feel like I breezed through it. I mean, I wasn't menopausal until I was 58. So it was like,
You got a ways to go.
oh, yeah. But yeah, I would say embrace this beautiful part of your life, because now you're on to another adventure. That's how I look at it. Like, and it does bother me. You know, you're walking down the street, you see these, you know, not that I look at other girls, but you see these, you know, 40-year-old skinny bitches, right? And it's like, man, I used to be a skinny bitch. But you know what? And your hair changes, it gets drier, so you have to really be careful. Like, it's all of those things, and it's just like, it's just another adventure. And the beauty of it is you don't have to take any crap from anyone anymore. There is a freedom in it.
Oh my God.
That's the
Yeah.
best.
That is so, I appreciate every word you said. I don't know that it's been explained to me that way by anybody else. We live in this weird society where there's so much disconnectedness from a sense of community that there are not that many people ahead of me that I can go to for advice. My grandmother is gone. I don't belong to a church. You know, like it's become a very lonely path, which is okay, because I tend to be a bit of a hermit anyway, but coming into something like menopause, it sure would be nice to have someone there.
You call me any old time. And because it does, like, it, you know, there are times when I am melting down and I get depressed about something so ridiculous. And it's like, okay, hold on. I mean, you can blame it all on menopause. And there's something like 400 symptoms. Like, they're starting to learn a lot more about it now. It's
Like
like, oh,
lupus.
that explains a lot, you know. I just thought I was, you know, going insane. But you are changing. And if you think you're going to look like you did when you were 25 or 30, it's not going to happen. You got to come to that kind of acceptance. And the other thing too is, so I'm working out with this girl, and I want those arms, you know, you have those arms, Kathy, right? But it doesn't happen as easy as it used to. That's for sure. And I used to be, I gained 5 pounds. So, you know, I'd go a day and I'd lose 15, you know. Now, forget it. It's not happening. So you just have to accept it and be glad that you're healthy, because like I said, you know, my Carol would love to be talking about, you know, the midriff, the mummy tummy, right? And you have to get over where you think it's ugly. And our society is so, you see it on social media with the way girls pose, and now they got to have these great big lips, and, you know, and you got to be, well, they look like Snuffleupagus. I'm sorry. Who the hell invented that thing?
Right.
It's an IQ test for idiots, right? Like,
totally. But that pressure you do feel, because especially when you're single and wanting to date, it's like, well, they're not going to like me. I got a stomach, and, you know, I got gray hair, and it's just like, oh, who cares, right?
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. And if you can start now, you do look after your body anyway, but just don't stop, because I see a lot of women that kind of I just don't want to look like that frumpy middle-aged, and I'm not middle-aged. I'm closer to, you know.
well, you're probably one of the healthiest people we know. Like, all your biking and running and you are a seriously active person.
Yeah.
If I didn't have this person, I would be a vegetable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually scared of what I would look like if I didn't have this person to kick my ass off the couch every day.
Yeah, and it's hard. And the other thing too is like you said, I love to be active, and I am very vain. I love to hear I don't look 63. You know, I'll tell people, how old is he come? And they'll be like 61. I'm like, oh. But it's a vanity. I just don't want to be that frumpy old bird yet. It's going to happen at some point, but it's like, I'm letting my hair grow longer. I'm not going for that, I'm not dyeing it that red wine frickin' dye. Who said that looks good? But yeah, and keep active, right? And I'm lucky enough to live where I live because mostly everyone here is like that, right? We live in this beautiful area, so everyone's out running, and you go downtown Canmore, there's people cycling, running, it's crazy. It's a really cool place to live, right? But
the nature and the air replenishes you. It just recharges your battery.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And plus I look cool having a kayak on top of my car.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So more kayaking, more fun this year. What else is for 2025 for Helen? What's happening? What's the spotlight?
So I am going to finish my second book. Yeah. And I have and I'm going to do with somebody I know. I'm going to record 53 Grove Road and make it an audio and get that out. And I do want to do a little more kayaking. I have to take a cake decorating course because I am the birthday cake maker for my littles.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah, but up until now they think they're beautiful, but they got, it's like, oh my God, how am I going to make this? And they never look like they do on Pinterest,
right.
But they love them, right? We spend hours going through Pinterest trying to decide. Ellie was like, yeah, can you make me 466 cakes? And I'm like, oh my God, you'll be 14 by the time, so I want to take a cake decorating because that feeds a little bit of my creativity. But yeah, not a whole lot's going to change. I think I'm quite content with the way things are. I would love to retire, but it's not happening. So
I thought that was a good opportunity for you to ask Helen what this chapter of her life would be called.
Yeah, because we're such for us, we love the chapters, there was this chapter, there was that chapter. Yeah. So if you could title this chapter right now, what would it be?
Where I'm at right now.
What chapter are you in and what is it called?
What the fuck? No.
Nice. I like that.
Gee, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. It's like,
it's a hard question. You're on the spot, and
something to do with embracing where I'm at, being content with where I'm at. I'm trying to purge everything in my house. I did have a goal last year to have nothing in my storage, and I don't, except for Christmas decorations.
Amazing.
And a few other things. Yeah, it's so freeing. Now, don't talk to me about my garage because I got all my camping stuff. I got all my, sports stuff.
I like the idea of the chapter being called Embracing Helen because it goes back to the beginning where you're holding your little self. Embracing Helen is the perfect chapter title.
I might actually open the book with that story of standing in that field saying, come on, let it go, get it going. And just, I'm holding on to her. I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make a note right now. Well, we are
recording this.
So I can see it. Yeah. I like that. Embracing Helen. Yeah. Yeah. And I think to what we were saying earlier, you can always be careful about thinking you're okay where you're at, because then I think the universe goes, oh, you think so? Right. So
it's ever changing, and I just would like to back to my intention or non-intention is that, life. And I've never been good at change. I love to get just perfectly comfortable. But the second that happens, whoosh.
I know, it's funny how it works, eh? But at least you're open to it. Right. Yeah. And I mean, really, your kids, how old is your youngest?
13.
Oh, so you've still got some time in there, but in a couple of years, Alora's going to be in university. Maybe she's going to take a gap year. I mean, all of those things are coming up. So you do still have a bit of fun times. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, enjoy these last years with them, because I really miss my little man. I do.
I
miss
believe
him
it.
every day. Yeah, and I try not to be too clingy because he's his own. I saw a great uh, what's the word I want? See, and then you start forgetting words. Analogy where you're in your boat with your family, and then they get their own boats. And the hardest thing to do as a parent is not to be doing this to bring them back.
Right.
It's so hard. So enjoy the next, 9 years or so, because boom.
I mean, we had those intentions last year when we took the girls to Mexico. That was probably one of their favorite trips of all time. When we went to Los Angeles and Las Vegas in the same year, so winter and then summer, we did this
Yeah.
big road trip. That blew them away too. And in my mind, I was thinking like, man, when I was like 16 or 17, like Laura, that would have been it. Like that would have been the last family vacation because after that, I was working and going to
Yeah.
university, and
Yeah.
you're kind of starting your life without your parent. You're almost
Yeah.
flying away from the nest. And
Yeah.
I just had those like intentions that, okay, this is it. These are going to be really special and memorable.
What a beautiful gift you're giving your children by doing that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been, the four of us have this really lovely energy, and we worked, like, we left Manitoba, and I got off the drugs, the antidepressants, and we've cultivated this peaceful energy amongst the four of us. And just as we were kind of coming to the apex of that, now we've got Alora who's bringing in Austin, and he might be the one, like, and he is a significant presence, like a contribution to this energy. So that's starting to shift. There's all these shifts. And I feel like I'm that parent where I have like past life trauma of losing children. And so I've never been the helicopter parent. I've never held on long enough. And thinking about the boat, for me, I should be pulling it back in, because for me, releasing it has always been way too easy. It's like, I don't want to get too close because I might lose you.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, pull them back in.
And as I understand it, I think when you have girls, you are always tethered to each other's boat. When you have a boy, you are not. And Alex and I are still close. Obviously, we're not as close as we used to, but we talk a lot. But he's got his own family now. And it's really hard as a mom, especially a single mom, with abandonment issues. And I'm looking back at all the stuff as a parent, as a single mom. He had a lot of responsibility dumped on him that probably wasn't fair. I don't think he feels that, but that guilt as a parent, you're always thinking you did something wrong. But I found that extraordinarily hard to understand that he could see my boat, but he's off on his own. And that's the sign of a good parent. So I think that's a good gift that you're giving them, is to say, yeah, go. They're always going to come back. That's how I understand it. But I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but yeah,
It's
And then
very
you get
funny to
the-
hear them talk about how we've traumatized them.
Oh yeah, of course. But that's the thing, right? There's going to be something that you've done either, never intentionally, that's going to really stick on them, and they might come back at you, right?
Hey, it was Emma's fault. She burst into our room that one time that we did it above the sheets.
Oh.
Oh, so we're going there today. All right.
Yeah, but right?
That's her favorite trauma story. Now, the fact that she can talk about it openly with us about how we traumatized her, I'm like, so how traumatized are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I told her too. I was traumatized too, but I was like,
there's trauma two ways here, lady.
I was 16. Well, I was 16 or 17 when I accidentally burst into my parents. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I thought I was adopted.
Well, let me tell you, my parents had so much hate for each other. If I walked in on that, I would have been shocked. I just have a different trauma,
Right.
Oh my God, I would have been mortified. Yeah.
Yeah. The book Emma's going to write about us is not going to be a pretty one.
No.
Yeah, but I love
These
that she
two
can talk
monsters.
about it.
There you go.
On the surface, they looked like the perfect couple,
Exactly.
but behind
they're-
closed doors, they were sexual beings.
Well, and that's true when you think about your parents. It's like, oh, no.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ew.
Sorry, Emma. I'm sorry.
Oh, Emma, it's okay, honey. You're all right. That's hilarious.
Excuse us for being human.
Yeah, right?
I think, oh, you know what's funny? If you do listen to our podcast, but we were talking about the sex episode on the Pear Genius podcast, and Emma, I think, was walking by and she was like re-triggered. It was so funny.
God, that's awesome. Now, I love your podcast. You two are hilarious together. I love it. I love it. I love
Half
it.
the time when we're fighting for real, I'm like, why are we not recording
Right?
this? Like, we're in the
Yeah.
car and it's just the funniest, stupidest fight ever. I'm like, this would be gold. This would be just the stuff that
You
people
should
would
record
need.
it one day, because then you can see how you can heal from that kind of. That's how couples are. Or should be. Should be.
Well,
We know how to fight in a hilarious way. So
Yeah.
I mean, not always hilarious, I have to say.
I would say
Yeah.
90% of the time it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Says you.
hit her with it. I
Okay.
like this question.
So what we're doing now is we want to ask our current guest to leave a question for the next guest.
Oh,
So we just had an interview with Rob Noken from the Netherlands, and we asked him, what is a
Okay.
question you want to leave? So he wants to
Oh.
know, if you could change the world, where would you start?
in childhood.
Oh.
Back to that inner child. I think if we could start there now with our littles, I think we would see a big difference, because then we could teach them to understand your emotions. And I think we could teach them we could give them more emotional intelligence than we do.
I think you're the perfect person to ask that question to, because
Yeah,
I think that's the perfect answer.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think,
I was gonna say, watching my dad basically like die in front of my eyes because he
Yeah.
hasn't dealt with his shit,
yep.
and I don't know how to get him to deal with his shit, and it's just hard. It's hard watching someone like die inside out.
Yeah, it is. And, broken people, and that saying, hurt people. And I think that is the absolute epicenter of where it needs to stop. Where, last week I was at Alex and Samantha's, and the girls were fighting. And Layla, of course, is like, right. And then Ellie's crying. And I'm like, okay, so let's come to a solution. Being the grandma, normally if they were my kids, I'd be like, knock it off. But so Samantha said, girls, come here. So they're standing on the stairs. She goes, I will not tolerate that kind of talking and yelling to each other. If you're having an issue, come to me so we can work it out. This is not good behavior. She never raised her voice. She's a good mom.
Wow.
She's like, I have a big voice anyway, but she's like, this is not acceptable behavior. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And she's called me on it a time, Alex and I, because we fight, we yell, right? And she's called us both on it, and that does not happen. She's very clear on that. It's like, nope, that does not happen. And I'm thinking, wow. So she's actually giving them a beautiful gift on learning how to settle a conflict, right?
That is pretty amazing, especially at that age.
And they're sitting there, and she's like, Layla. And Layla's like, sorry. And Ellie's so cute. She's like, sorry, mommy. She's so cute.
These kids are gonna go to like kindergarten or grade 1. They're gonna be like, what the fuck's wrong with all these other kids?
Totally. Right? Right? I know. And Samantha never loses her shit, ever. That was her losing her shit.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Very, very, very good at it, right? Now we'll see what it's like. Now, my son, on the other hand, forget it. He loses his shit like his mother does. And it's to the point where Layla's like, yeah, I know. But yeah, I think that that's where it needs to begin. Is like, let's not go into our adulthood broken.
Right?
And it's never too late to fix yourself.
That's right. And it's hard work. And I think that's something that, I do that workshop. I haven't done it for years, but it's a very powerful thing to go deep into yourself and throw away what no longer serves you when you were in survival mode. And certainly, your father was in a survival mode, of course, at some point in his life, and never learned to get past that stage of the toolbox of just holding on to a hammer, right?
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
hard
definitely.
work, and people aren't willing to do the hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard watching somebody you love not do the thing. I mean, to
Yep.
me, it's like so obvious, but
Yeah.
for him, it is not.
But listen, people don't change. And when they do, it's because they want to,
That's right.
Exactly.
and it's hard. Yeah. And they don't know any other way. There's a great book. It's called Broken Open. And it's talking about, I think we've talked about this before, but it's talking about the firstborn and the secondborn. And yeah, the firstborn are the people that don't go into the forest unknown. They prefer to stay in wherever it is, and that chaos is a weird comfort for them. The secondborn will go out and they don't want to return. And they're not afraid to go out and explore what's beyond something they don't know. It's a brilliant analogy, and it's true. But having said that, even if you're second born, if you're in a situation where you feel like you're in survival mode, you will go back to the firstborn. It's like the little kid. You go back to whatever stage you stopped growing as an adolescent. God, I'm like Gandhi, really.
Right? It's amazing. I'm just sitting here letting it wash over me.
Maybe that should be the name of my book. I'm like Gandhi.
Right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Make it really controversial. It'll be
Yeah.
great. That kind of stuff sells. That kind of
Oh,
stuff.
it totally does. And that's, I would love to do that. I'm just not there in my life right now. Maybe when I'm older, we'll see.
Yeah.
Do I have to come up with a question for your next guest?
That was my next question. Yep.
Yeah. What would you ask the next person?
Is it presumptuous to say, when did you stop growing?
Yeah, that's a good one.
When did you stop growing and not in your pants?
Yeah.
Good God.
Oh, sorry.
When did you stop growing in your pants? For God's sake, Alex.
It's funny because Milton is the next guest.
Patty, you know where I live if you need a safe place,
Thank you. I'm blinking.
The whole time you guys were talking about the menopause thing, I'm like, where is the guys' sanctuary? Where do the guys go?
Oh, well, I hate to tell you, darling, but it's nothing to do with you.
Oh, man. You know what? It does have to do with me, Helen. I will push back because at 2 a.m. last night, I was still awake. I did not want to be.
I couldn't sleep. I was having these hot flashes, and I'm just like, what is wrong with me?
I'm like, are you horny? Like, what's going on?
He asked me that too. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because that's the answer to it all.
Yeah.
I think for the guy's perspective for menopause is you are going to have to pull your patience from somewhere and get a lot of it. And try to be understanding.
Helen, I would like to say to the audience, for anyone that has listened to this podcast knows that if she's fidgety in the night, she has admitted that she is in the mood and that I need to not ignore those signals. And of course, I was wrong. She was probably just full of samosas and couldn't sleep.
I didn't even have one samosa, FYI.
Oh, sorry. I was
She'll
full
let
of
you
samosas.
know. She'll let you know when she needs you. And that's the other thing. Embrace that part because that goes away too. Just saying.
And for the record, women are terrible communicators. Not like us men. We
Yeah,
know
that's
how
right.
to get everything out.
Women are so closed about how they feel. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's opposite day here.
I love it. I think we should do I should get you hooked up with my menopause coach and do a podcast with her because she's brilliant.
Okay.
And we go and another girlfriend and I now, so we're menopause. We're in menopause. We're not talking about perimenopause. And we're sitting there listening to all of these things these poor women are going through, and we're looking at each other going, we're done. Right? It's like, but yeah. It's just part of life.
I'm just going to sit in acceptance this year.
Yeah. It's pretty hard. Yeah. But yeah, Alex, I think for you as Kathy's sidekick, definitely you have to learn patience and You know what you could do if you're having a problem communicating how you're feeling and how to accept it is get a journal and just write in it. I hate my life today, not you, but everything else in it, right?
I'm
What
just
do
gonna write
you
on the
need?
blackboard in the living room. I'm sick of you and your
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
be
Yeah.
nice to me. Cook me something
Yeah.
delicious.
And no, so if you write stuff like that, just tell her she can't read it right at that moment, because then
Right.
it'll be a whole other
Our
conversation.
mantra will be, what would Helen do?
I'm gonna
Oh
burn your
God.
journal for you.
Burn the journal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the divorced cat woman living in Canmore.
I heard your cat meowing, by the way. I wanted to say hi to him, so let him know I said hi.
Was he? Oh, that's Dennis. Yeah. He's going to be 16 this year.
Ooh.
He's a great
My
cat. I
little
love
love.
him.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He is a little lover, that one. I laughed. I was joking last time I was at the dentist. Dennis is one of my longest relationships, other than my 18-year-old crown. My dentist was like, and me.
Right?
Dentists are so funny and creepy because
Yeah.
they take really good notes. Like they'll ask you questions and then they'll take notes. And the next time you come in, it's like, how do you know that? How do you remember that? It's
Yeah.
because they are amazing note takers when they
Yeah. Well,
ask
they
you
have to
questions.
be. They're digging around in your face. Like
Yeah.
there's no dignity left there, I'll tell
Right.
you.
They don't care about me. They just want my money.
Exactly.
But they do a good job of making you feel like you're top of mind. It's like, holy
Yes,
crap,
it's
how do you
true.
know that?
Yeah,
It's
it's
almost like a
nice.
psychiatrist, right?
That's a good skill to have.
Sure is.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I've asked the question. I've got Helen's next question for Milton. So
Perfect.
Helen, you
Yeah.
are awesome. You are the podcast guru.
You know what? I love you guys. I love our conversations. They're just hilarious. We go through all of these little,
right.
I love it.
I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that my husband has this relationship with you, because then I get to be a part of it too. This is
Yeah.
why I can never be angry that he texts other women, because he brings me these connections and relationships I would never have.
Yeah,
So
I know.
I'm
It's
grateful
lovely.
to you both.
Yeah, well, I love both of you. I love watching you grow in your business, and I think your relationship is really cool to watch. And I think you're awesome parents and awesome people. And yeah, you're gonna do well in your life. You already have.
Thanks, Helen. Hopefully, the next chapter will be rich and sexy and no menopause yet.
Or yes to the menopause because you got through it.
Right? Exactly. If we just do it now and get it over with.
Yeah.
Why can't we just get you a boob job and pretend like menopause isn't happening?
Oh, for God's sake.
Save me.
Oh, you know where I live, Katty. You're safe with me.
And with that, I'll hit stop, and we'll see you guys on the next one. We love you all, geniuses.